All I need is a chair and 15 minutes. I already feel
Good
like in
evening,
my
folks.
20s.
Made a bit
Highly
of a mess
recommend
there.
giving it a
Right,
try.
you've got an advert on the screen now.
I know, I see it.
Watch. This is how my dad got a flat.
Not interesting to hear Dad's flat tire. Okay, folks, sorry about that mess up. Obviously, my mind is not back to earthly matters, not quite yet. Nice to see all you good folk here. Woodlander, good evening. Anglo, good evening. Margaret, good evening. Triple M, thank you for being here. Thank you. And here is William in, waiting to be added. Good evening, William.
All right.
Well, almost all right. Just made a bit of a bell end of the intro. But never mind. So, how are you keeping?
Aye, good. I had like technical issues here, so I think I'm all right now. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I have contacted Eki, but nothing as yet.
Yeah, I did mention to send some. It's been a while now since we heard, so
Yep.
hopefully he's all right.
Well, it's a bit of a madhouse where he lives, LA, of course, as you know. Last time I had any contact with him was the last movie review, but he never came. So it's the movie review before that. So that's quite a while. Sometimes he used to pop in at the end of a stream and say hello. You know, nip in and out, nip out. But he hasn't done that for a while either. So I don't know what's going on at his end. But he was always talking, of course, on and off about moving from LA. Perhaps that's actually happened. I don't know. It's just odd. Unlike him. So we're just waiting on censor, folks. So how's your family keeping then, William? Okay?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, it can be an effort. My youngest son can be, he's like the devil sometimes, honestly.
Trying?
Yeah, very testing. And of course my daughter, she's autistic, so that can be tough from time to time, dealing with her behavior. I mean, she is great, but it can be quite testing. And then the youngest causing trouble, then the eldest. Of course, if it's not one, it's the next one. So one bottle at a time, I guess. But yeah, they're all right. Hey, they're looking forward to Santa coming, and of course, yeah. I mean, for them, it's great. For the parents, it's like, how much? How much did it cost? And then paying the bill. I mean, with the three of them as well.
Yeah.
And you want to spend an equal amount of money on each kid.
Oh, of course.
And I mean, I understand that, but it's like it gets more and more each year. So I guess that's inflation. But and I'm always kind of like, look, maybe put a cap on it or say, look, that'll be enough. But I don't know.
You
I
can
mean,
start
what?
worrying, will you, when you've got 3 cars sitting outside
Yeah.
with ribbons round them.
Yeah, it just seems to everything seems to cost more and more. So
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
it's a bit of a headache that it can be a bit of a headache, and on top of that, my daughter's birthday is like a week before Christmas,
Oh,
so
holy moly, that's the last thing you need. Oh,
it's
gee.
well timed.
Isn't it just? Isn't it
Yeah,
just?
but I mean, you've got to try and keep them happy, and they always want the latest of like technology, and it's like
Of
when I was
course.
growing up, I kind of got one big present and then a couple of wee bits of stuff. But I mean, today the kids, it's quite incredible what they get, and of course you want to give them what they want, but you also don't want to overdo it and spoil them. Like, it's tough to get that balance.
Oh, of course. I always found, and Helen always found, the most difficult thing was knowing when to stop and actually being able to stop. And I was the worst for that. I just could not stop. Oh, well, not awful. It was just I just couldn't stop myself.
Yeah, not similar. It's a bit like my wife. She'll be, oh well, I seen this, and I was out and I seen that, and it's like I'm kind of like, well, I think they've got enough now.
Do you know when Samuel was born, that first Christmas when he was just a tiny baby, my mother provided, via Santa Claus, of course, an electric train set. Now he's just a baby, but that electric train set wasn't for him. That was for me, because that was one of those things in my childhood that I had asked for and I'd never arrived. So this was my mother's way of making up for it. Didn't stop me playing with it.
Quite right.
Yeah. Shall we give him a few more minutes or should we start?
I'm pretty sure he is coming. So
Oh, I'm sure he will. He'll maybe doing a bit of taxi driving.
he'll be sitting stuffing his face with chicken korma.
Quite. Quite. So if I got it right, you've got 3 children, William.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
What do you mean unfortunately?
Do you know? I sometimes sit and wonder what I'd done in a previous life to suffer 3 kids and a wife.
Just as well we know you don't mean that.
Yeah, it can be testing, but I mean as much as there's hurdles and they all have their dramas and issues. When I think back on my life, I originally growing up like a young teen and in my teenage years, I was a wee bit off the rails and unsure, kind of hopeless, a kind of hopeless entity. And I always thought, no, I won't be having any children. I don't want to. I kind of thought I maybe couldn't at that point because I'd certainly been, I'd certainly been I'd been about, so I was kind of surprised that I never had any kids at that point. So I kind of thought, well, it's not meant to be. And then, of course, I did end up having kids, and it changed my life completely. I reckon it saved me. It saved my life because I turned my life completely around. I was way off the rails, man. Not really in a like a bad person, but just bad to myself in the sense of not looking after myself, my health, my well being, and
Sure,
the people around me. So
sure.
it gave me hope, and it gave me I guess something to care about.
other than you.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I seem to at that time not really care about if I was to see the next day or the next week. So I never really even considered or thought about the future until I settled down and I had a kid on the way, and it was kind of disappointing because I lost my dad a couple of I think maybe 4 months or so before my first daughter she was born, and
So
I
I
was
missed
kind of
that.
hoping, yeah, I was kind of hoping he'd be about to meet her, but so that spurred me on as well, losing my dad, and I thought it was time to step up and grow up
Sure.
a bit.
Well, that was the same. I
I'm
know
still
that
waiting to grow up, like.
uh, when Samuel came along, you may have heard me say this before, but I say it all the time. When this conversation rolls round, and I'll say, well, as far as I'm concerned, God sent me an angel when he sent me Samuel. That's how I feel about it. And it certainly changed my life as well. And I don't think we're the only men that will have changed because of children.
Yeah. Is that why you called him Samuel, or?
He's named after my own father.
Ah, cool.
Although when my father was alive, apparently he was addressed as Sammy. But I know Samuel outside the house gets sometimes Sam, sometimes Sammy, sometimes Samuel. Depends. But no, he was named after my father. I'd always said that that if I had a son, I'd like to name him after my dad, although I never really knew my dad,
Yeah.
as we spoke before.
And did your dad, was he the one that gave you your name, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm named after my grandfather,
Ah, cool.
John Davidson, the drunk.
Oh.
He's a baddie. He's a drunk.
A bit like my dad's dad.
Yeah. That's, you don't get to choose your parents.
True. That is true.
Well, I think we should make a start. These good people are being very patient. We'll make a gentle start, shall we, folks? So, William, this is a movie you have not seen before. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, I've seen it now.
Yes, before now.
I've seen it now, but yeah, I'd heard of it, but I hadn't sat down and watched it, so it was new.
Right. So, what was your first impressions?
To be honest, when the intro started, I kept thinking, did they say this was a comedy? So it was taking a wee bit of time, and I thought, right, I mean, it's quite an old film, but eventually when it got into it, I thought, yeah, I see where it's going, and I see why it's a comedy.
You understand why it was black white, of course.
Well, I think due to kind of replicating the original.
Yeah, it's parodying the old Universal movies. That's why it's shot black and white, of course. And you're also correct in assuming there would be a lot of people who would go to see a movie like that and not have those references because they'd be too young. But interesting, was it? Have you ever seen any of those old Universal films, William?
I mean, I think there's quite a few, right?
Oh,
Frankenstein, the son of Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
I think I might have seen them too, but I've not seen. I think there's more than just that. But
Oh, that's quite a lot.
is there? Yeah.
Yeah, quite a lot.
I was
Don't you-
wondering,
Yeah.
was it the first kind of parody of a movie that because you see it today? I think a popular one was the Scream. They made a parody scary movie. But I was wondering, was this maybe the first kind of parody of a
A
movie?
horror movie.
Yeah.
It might well have been. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. It's not focusing on a single movie, of course. What it's doing is it's taking particular elements of different Frankenstein movies and putting them together into a narrative so that you get the flavour of other films in the Frankenstein franchise, both from Universal and Hammer. So, but in terms of atmosphere, it's very much built on Universal. And very close to it, I might add. Samuel,
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming.
what was your general thoughts on Frankenstein?
Young Frankenstein. I loved the first time I watched this. It just encapsulated those Universal films so well. And then when you learn more about it, it just gets better and better. And it works as a serious film and a parody. It's perhaps Mel Brooks's best film.
I think it's the best out of those parodies that he made. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
But again, that's all down to personal humour.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like everyone's sense of what they find funny is going to be different. If you don't enjoy that type of humor and you prefer, something else, you're just going to be like, whatever. It's a black and white
Sure.
film. Where's the jokes?
So, was there anything in the film narrative, William, that surprised you?
Sorry, what was that, John? I missed a bit of that.
In the film's narrative, was there anything in it that surprised you, that seemed odd or out of place?
Not that I can really. There's not really anything that I would say stood out in that sense. I found the story a wee bit, kind of like all over the place.
Yeah,
It was a wee bit hard for me to follow. I guess maybe not seeing the films previously that it's parodying, but yeah, I did
yes.
find it kind of jumped a bit, and I did kind of think, well, how did we get here? So,
Well, there's
but
a good example.
yeah,
Anglo's put up there. Abby who? Abby Normal.
yeah.
Of course.
I'm sure that's not her
appears-
name.
No, it's because it appears in quite a few of the Frankenstein films. There's always a container with a brain in it, and it says abnormal on it. But if
Nah.
you've not seen those other films, you don't make that
Mhm.
connection. So you don't get the joke.
Yeah.
Quite often as well, you would get things like when every time the thought or lightning would go off, something would happen and it would be repeated through the film. Well, they make fun of that by having the horses neigh every time to hear that woman's voice. And her name is mentioned. And that's what it depends on. And if you watch any of his films he made, they're all the same in that sense. They all depend on you knowing the references. So you're at a bit of a disadvantage here, William, in this one. And as Linda Hunter is saying here, it's a bit slapstick as well. So what did you make of the performances, Samuel?
Performances are really good. Obviously, you've got Gene Wilder being Gene Wilder that we associate in this film. He kind of starts that process of just the wild eyes, the maniacal performance, the almost over the top but not quite reaching that, the mad hair. He's so good in that role, and many have tried to copy him, but he's one of a kind, one of a kind. And then you've got Marty Feldman, who, God bless him, you just look at him and you can't stop laughing. And he just plays it. He's so good with the deadpan, so good with the deadpan. And then you've got Madeline Kahn, one of Hollywood's best funny women, fantastic actress, and very, very quick with the wit. Very quick with the wit. Great cast. And obviously Mel Brooks likes to use people that he knows, and he's got all his favourites here again.
Are you aware, William, that Marty Feldman, that is him? His eyes were actually like that.
Yeah, I did. I'd seen part of a documentary, and I think it was Feldman that was talking, and he was saying how in that movie the only makeup he needed was a wee bit of powder on his face.
Steve here. Hi, Steve. Werewolf? Werewolf.
Their castle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Superb. And of course, a lot of those sets were borrowed because of real sets from the original movies, which, for somebody who's a movie buff, it's a nice touch. A nice touch. Now, what did you think of the character of the policeman, William?
Yeah, I can remember him. He stood out. I think there's a scene where young Frankenstein is playing darts, and he's throwing them. The guy's speaking when he's throwing them, and then he throws one, and you hear a cat screaming.
That's true.
I thought he was good. I thought he played it well. The standout for me is obviously Gene, but I mean, Gene, it's interesting. Samuel mentioned he just needs to sort of look at the guy Feldman and it finds it funny. I'm the same with the guy Wilder. honestly, he doesn't have to do anything, and I'm like laughing at him. So I was glad. I was glad it was him, and yeah, he's great. Anything he does is I think it's like naturally funny. So he doesn't
Yeah.
even have to try and be acting. He's one of these characters. I had a friend, God rest him, he's not here today, but he was the same. He just looked at him, and anything he'd done, the, he would mess it up or it would be clumsy, and it's similar with Gene. I think you would call it natural, uh, sort of comedy. So he was, but I like the guy that played Frankenstein. Is it Boyle, Peter Boyle?
Yeah. Yeah.
I quite
Yeah.
like him. He's quite funny. He's been in a lot of stuff, so
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in that. So it was good to see him, and I instantly straight away recognised the voice, and then could see the face, and I thought, oh, there you go.
Yeah, because
So yeah,
modern audiences would recognise him from Everybody Loves Raymond as
oh yeah, yeah.
as the granddad.
And did you recognise Gene Wilder? Gene Hackman?
Who, me? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, William. Yeah. Did you recognise what?
Did I? I don't think I did.
He was the blind man in the woods.
No, I don't think I noticed it was him.
With a gag with a soup and the lighted cigars. Yeah. He asked to get that part. Anglo, it was me that chose this.
Yeah, he's uncredited in the film, and he did the role for nothing because he wanted to try comedy,
That's
and
right.
he's good friends with Gene Wilder, and that famous line where he says, "I was going to make espresso," it was an ad lib,
Was it?
and after he said it, the whole set, everyone on set absolutely fell about
I can
laughing,
imagine.
and they tried numerous takes afterwards with and without that line, and they just couldn't do it, so they just went with that one line, that one take.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it is funny. Well, as Samuel said, that's it. He wanted to try comedy. And so it's a nice surprise when you watch the film and there he pops up, you know. That wasn't a bad music soundtrack either.
Putting on a Ritz.
Yeah.
That killed me the first time. That just cracked me up. That was easily my favorite scene the first time I saw it. So good. Howling, absolutely howling. Yeah, it's one of these films with great one-liners that you can quote. You know, it's like Airplane. You know, it's one of the best.
But to make a thing like that work, though, would you agree, lads, that you have to, if you're a performer, you have to play it seriously, straight?
Definitely. You need to play it for real, and that's what you get from Wilder.
Yeah.
And he's so easy to to be that serious actor, but also at the same time be the straight man, and he can also be the funny guy without laughing. Although occasionally in other films you see him almost break character, particularly in Blazing Saddles. But yeah, they have to play it straight, and that's why like Madeline Kahn works so well. Is she's so excellent at doing those kind of roles.
Is that the young woman or the older woman?
Madeline Kahn's the one.
Housekeeper.
No. She plays Gene Wilder's fiance to be. Yeah, no, the fiance to be. Don't touch the hair. Don't touch the nails.
Right.
And she's a comic genius.
You have to give it a go, Treble. It's quite funny. It depends on your sense of humour, of course. But if you know any of the old Universal Frankenstein films, you'll know what they're using as their base material. Linda said, when you see the bloopers, you wonder how they ever got the scene. Yeah, the wastage must be incredibly high on some of these films, don't you think?
Definitely. Yeah. It's apparently it's one of those films that they didn't want to end. They were having so much fun. I'm just going through some of the trivia, and apparently Mel Brooks kept writing after the film finished. He didn't want it to end. But yeah, we've seen some of the bloopers, and it's great. It's just when you've got all these comic genius together, it's bound to happen.
But the thing that surprised me, I don't know if you noticed this, William, but I was surprised by the fact that Gene Wilder was the lead writer.
I did see he was done the screenplay, I think.
Yeah, he was the lead writer on that screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always thought, because I haven't seen it for 20 odd years, till I watched it last night, that it would be Mel Brooks, but obviously I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting that Wilder had the capacity to write that type of material at that level.
Yeah, I think Wilder, quite a smart individual. Comes across as a kind of silly, kind of laughable person, but I think behind that was an intelligent man, even if I can say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did notice some of the bloopers, and I did read there were certain scenes they done about 15 to 20 different takes because Wilder couldn't contain his laughing. So he struggled, but you had to get it right as well, because it plays a big part. And the train scene was I thought that was great. Oh, not my lips. I'm going out later. Don't touch the nails. Yeah. And then don't crease the jacket, and it's like, oh yeah, I've been there. I know that. That cracked me up. I mean, even today, that is still happens today. Women don't change, I guess, right?
Yeah, I know what it was I was going to tell you. The chief of police with the wonky arm was actually a real character in one of the Frankenstein movies. That was an injury that the monster had given him. So when they made the next film, he was in it and he had this wonky arm that he would, move around in a crazy.
It gets pulled off at the
way.
end when he shakes his hand.
And that's where that comes from.
I did wonder about that.
Yeah. And there is that scene in the film. He visits Frankenstein at the castle. And I think they actually do have a game of darts. So it's lifted right over. And that chap who played the chief of police had a striking resemblance to the original performer through the course.
It's very eerie.
Isn't
very
it?
eerie, yeah, because he's got the same outfit on, and obviously with the moustache and whatnot, it's like, oh, that's very spooky.
So you can see, if you know any of the films, that this is a labour of love for the performers, but it's also a love letter to the fans of those movies.
And I think it might, and as well in the asked, I think it might have been the first parody film that Hollywood produced. I can't think of anything earlier. I was looking through Brooks's other works, and this is the earliest one. So if there was something maybe obscure that I'm not remembering, I think this would be the first like true parody film.
It'd certainly be the first horror.
Mm.
I would say that with a high degree of confidence. It would be the first horror movie done for laughs. Much later on, of course, Hammer did a similar thing in colour.
Mm-hmm.
Anglow's asking a question. I reckon it was better filmed in black and white. Thoughts? What's your thoughts, William?
I'm unsure if I can say otherwise, to be honest, because I'd have to see it in colour.
As a comparison.
Yeah, to compare. But I don't know. I think if it was in colour, would it be so similar? Because it's definitely a nod to the black and white Frankenstein movies. So I don't know if it would have the same effect.
Savio, what do you think?
Oh, definitely better in black and white. Even if purely for the sequence when Frankenstein's coming to life. He's on the table and he's getting all the electricity in him, and Wilder is copying the dialogue from the original Frankenstein film. It's alive, etc. That scene alone, it just wouldn't work in color. I think it just wouldn't work. So for that alone, you have to do the whole thing, and I can't imagine this thing in color. It would be an abomination.
I would totally agree. And so the answer, Anglo, is it's got to be black and white. If you're going to do a parody like that, especially of that genre, of that era, and they carried it very well, because all the outside shots with the fog and the trees and the castle and cemetery, etc., just spot on. And if you wanted to be confident that you're right, less than 5 minute watch of the Hammer production, and you'll see how poor that is compared to this film. So yeah, it's got to be black and white if you're going to do that sort of thing. Like try to do a parody of Nosferatu in colour. Might as well do it in 3D colour, It'd be awful. It would just be awful.
Don't give them ideas.
Oh God, no. Linda said, my movie channel from overnight is still on. Gene Wilder is on in the producers. He's just wonderful. It's on the telly. Yes, I do watch World Movie Channel. Didn't know there was such a thing, Linda. Well, that's another a good comedy, certainly. Producers.
And of course, one of the characters in the producer, the German guy that writes the script, is the same actor that plays the policeman.
Is it?
In Young Frankenstein? Yeah.
Goodness sake. As you say, well, that's the way movies are. And have you ever appeared on the stage, William, in anything?
Just a lineup.
The Usual Suspects.
Nah, not since school. I don't think. Nah, I've not. Nope.
Well, even at an amateur level, there's a tremendous sense of comradeship. It very quickly exists. It shows up in these things. And actually, quite often, especially in comedies, I would say, helps the production lift up a little bit because people are working with other people they know and trust. So they'll try things that they might not otherwise try and throw in ad libs and whatnot, like you were explaining about the coffee gag,
Yeah. And another one that apparently was the case with Marty Feldman in The Hunch. Apparently, the actor was moving the hunch throughout scenes from side to side, and eventually the other cast members noticed. So then they included that as a gag. They wrote it into one of the scenes.
That's right. It constantly is on the move.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I can fix that hunch for you. What hunch? Just forget it.
Wasn't it on the other? Never mind.
Yeah. Superb. That's disappointing. Sensum hasn't turned up. Do you think I should send him another email?
Yeah, why not?
Aye, give him abuse. Just say, look, do you not think you've had enough curry? Where are you? I think when I spoke to him, he was maybe unsure if he was going to be able to make it, so I don't know. He's maybe been held up.
And then we've not been here on Tuesday. Perhaps that's what it was.
don't know if you know William, one of the cast members from Young Frankenstein recently passed away.
Not that I can't recall. No, I don't think I've heard.
Yeah, Terry Garr, the lady that played the young assistant, she passed at the end of last month. She was 79,
ch-
so she was like the last principal cast member still alive.
uh,
And again, she's one of these actresses that you see in a lot of films, and you go, "Oh yeah, her." I don't know her name, but yeah, she's good. She appeared in a lot of films in the 70s and 80s. Very underrated. And if you ever watched, I don't know if you enjoyed, she appeared as a recurring character slightly in Friends.
I don't. Well, I'm saying I don't watch it, but my wife, she she watches it constantly. So I do. I have been caught sitting watching it like when
Yeah,
she's got it on.
yeah,
But yeah, and I don't think I've noticed. Do you know who she plays in that?
She played Phoebe's lost mum.
Ah, I think I did. I have seen that.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
many
because
episodes did they make of that, Friends?
there was 11 seasons, I think. Yeah, 11 seasons, so
Hmm
20 something episodes per season. So yeah, a lot of that.
I mean, my wife watches it, and her friends, they all seem to watch it. And I think she said Netflix bought it for like 100 million
Mm.
to stream it, and it's like, well, it must still be huge, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of their consistent performers. I mean, people are constantly watching it for the first time and rewatching it. I know I've rewatched on it. Uh, it gets a lot of stick, but it's still a good show.
Yeah, I've had a laugh or two from it. I think I like the guy Joey, and is it the guy Perry as well? Chandler, is it?
Yeah, yeah. Rest in peace.
I thought they were quite funny. Um, but it's very. I mean, it's like you expect it from an American comedy. It's constant. Do you know?
Mhm.
It's like every sentence is like trying to be a joke, and
Yeah,
I find it a bit. I don't think I could sit and watch too many of them.
yeah, yeah. When it first came out, it was the show. It was on Channel 4, and you would see Friends, and then you would see Frasier. And me and my dad were more looking forward to watching Frasier together because it was a better show, in our opinion. I don't know if anyone in the chat would agree with that or not. But Frasier
Um,
was our favourite.
I I thought they were. I mean, for me, they were very similar. I thought they were quite similar in terms of the jokes, albeit like completely different shows. But again, it's this sort of layout they've got, particularly in America with the comedy shows. I did see someone put a clip of it's a scene from Friends, and they took away the laughter, and it's just
Hmm.
the script, and it's like it's weird, man, watching it with the laughter taken away. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know, it's strange, but I mean, it does a kind of wonder. It seems to only get bigger, these kind of shows. I wonder what that says about the way content is today. Is it getting worse, or is it getting better?
Well, on that Frasier show, the average number of scriptwriters at any given time was 30,
yeah,
constantly
and
turning over.
yeah. I
That's
went through a ton.
incredible number of writers.
Yeah.
But that's how quickly the gags are used up in a show like that. And as you say, they try to get it, every line's a gag.
Yeah,
Rather-
which is why when you've got films like Young Frankenstein that's got a lot of jokes singing in it, it still relies upon having a strong narrative that you can follow. You know, there is a story. It's not just jokes. And I think that's a credit to Mel Brooks. He's able to do that.
Yeah, and if you think of a film like Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister, you think of the writing that was in that, but there were stories attached. There was a narrative running through each one of those. That's what made it particularly humorous as well. Plus, it's a parody.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the best ever.
High quality work, that Minister and Yes Minister, I think. Can't even imagine the BBC doing anything like that now. Good evening, Toffee. So maybe send some working late or something.
William was saying that maybe his face is in a bowl of curry.
Aye, definitely.
But you're not the only one that said that.
You know, I heard someone call Gene Wilder a walking Monty Python, and I thought that was a good description. I just need to look at him, and I'm laughing.
Oh, he certainly had that quality, no doubt about it. It's a gift to have that.
Yeah. And the weird thing as well is I watch a lot of YouTube reaction videos, and Young Frankenstein is a very popular one within that community. And the number of times, particularly when it's a female that's watching the film, they instantly fall in love with Gene Wilder. They just see his blue eyes and they just melt. And that's the thing that kind of gets overlooked, perhaps, with Wilder, is that he did have the smouldering looks that he could have been a romantic lead as well. But because he's just so good at comedy, that's what he's famous for. But I think he could have easily been a heartthrob.
But certainly his natural gift.
Mm-hmm.
His face is set that way that all he has to do is look and you laugh. I had the same relationship, if you like, with Benny Hill. Not Benny Hill, Jack Benny. Jack Benny used to just walk on the stage, violin in one hand and his bow in the other, and stop, look out at the audience, and howls of laughter. He hasn't even done anything yet. But it's that face, the way it's set.
Yeah.
Just like the Gene Wilder had that same gift.
Yeah. I think another person that like that for me is the guy Enfield, Harry Enfield.
I don't know.
Not keen.
I think I know him well enough, William, to say. I know the name, and I'm sure I've seen him, but not well enough.
And I think maybe the guy, is it David Williams? He was in Little Britain. He's a bit like that, a stupid looking, sort of big lanky dude.
quite. So that's unfortunate. No more. But I can give you assurances that the sets were very realistic to the parodies that they're relying on. And for somebody like myself or anyone who knows that material, that's a bonus. It's a real bonus.
Yeah, because all the creatures, all the science lab stuff is the original set. So it is. It's original equipment.
Partly it was all on borrow. I borrowed it from some chap who owns it all now. And that, again, just adds realism to the parody. Sparks in his eye. Sparkle in his eyes. Twinkle. But you can imagine that Feldman had a very limited career. And always would have. Simply because of that same physicality.
Yeah, his career went a bit sideways.
Yeah, he died pretty young. Was that son?
Yeah, that's putting it mildly, yeah.
Why, what
happened? Just one of these larger-than-life characters. But poor, he didn't have good health. He didn't have good health at all.
That's probably partly why he looked the way he looked. I mean, I think he was twisted up, was he not? To some extent.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, he's... I'm just... double check. I think he's got Graves' disease. So. Which... and his eyes was apparently... was from a botched surgical procedure. That's why his eyes ended up being the way they were. So.
I'll see myself out, yeah. And he could see himself out.
Yeah, he's definitely one of a kind in front of the camera, that's for sure. And the way he looked, you can't imagine anyone being on screen like that now. You know, more than Hollywood wouldn't know what to do.
No, it would need to be an independent filmmaker, like Mel Brooks or someone like that. That's probably how he got that job, because it was an independent production. I'll see myself out. I know he appeared on television over here, but for the life of me, I couldn't tell you which shows he was in. I don't think he was ever part of the establishment BBC. Life of Brian and all
that. Yeah.
I don't think he took part in any of them.
To be honest, he's not someone I know much about, to be honest.
You see what Toffee says? He presented Eurovision for years.
I'm talking about Terry Wogan.
Aye.
Yeah.
Terry Wogan, of course.
Trevor M likes the blue-eyed Terry Wogan.
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot you can say about the music track. Did you enjoy the music? Did you think the music track worked? And the way that they used it? William?
The music it never really stood out for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was I couldn't think of a scene where I felt the music helped. I think knowing it's a comedy, none of that. There's no sort of dramatic, on edge kind of feel to the film. So I was a bit more laid back watching it, and the music, the music for me never stood out.
Yeah, because the main music in it is the violin piece they use to soothe the monster. And
That's
apart
it.
from that, there's some ironic use of short, sinister bursts for dramatic effect. Dun dun dun. The equivalent of that, coupled with a lightning. Thunder and lightning. But the music's quite minimal in it.
Yeah, there was the ladies singing at some points.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's a very famous operatic song from Jeanette MacDonald, Nelson Eddy film. It's quite a beautiful piece of music, actually. I know it well. It was my mother's favourite, so I grew up with that music in the house. Interesting they chose that one. Did you recognise it, Samuel?
I can't say I did.
A Sweet Mystery of Life.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. When
They were having
yes.
sex.
Yes, when the monster is revealed. Yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And
You
again,
enjoyed it?
that's one of those sort of period piece jokes.
Yeah.
That was quite a funny scene as well. At the end, he's heading away because the music, the violin, and she's like, "Oh, you men are all the same. You'll be going away telling all your friends. You better not say anything."
After you had your 7 or 8 goes, yeah.
Oh, that's right. I was thinking, bloody hell, 7 or 8. Jesus, keen.
Did you recognise at the end when she's got the hair done that's them copying the Bride of Frankenstein character?
I can't say I did notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. A very campy movie. But the woman in it, as Samuel said, that's the way they've got her hair. Like candy floss.
Yeah. Yeah, because Bride of Frankenstein was that the film that Universal did after
Yeah.
Frankenstein?
No, there was a film in between. I think that was the third or fourth.
Right.
When they introduced these rather campy characters.
Yeah.
And that was the Bride. Yeah. That was the title, The Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Typical
it's a
Hollywood.
yeah.
They're just out to make a buck, you know.
Yeah. And it's popular today still with people dressing up as that character.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And obviously Frankenstein being probably the most famous with that face mask.
Actually, it's actually Bella that's more famous. Believe it or not. Even as a
Yeah.
mask. It's instantly recognisable, of course.
Yeah.
As they all are. Got to remember, Samuel, our William here only was introduced to black and white movies when he joined up in the stream. He's never seen a black and white film.
Of course.
He doesn't have all that history behind him.
Yeah.
Or weighing him down, one of the two. So is there anything else you would like to add, William, about the film?
Not really. I did enjoy it. It was, I kind of thought, oh, here we go. But to be fair, it did make me laugh. I more than I thought I would be laughing. So I was happy with that. I like a good comedy. And I thought there was a scene where I think Frankenstein's getting taken down the stair or similar, and they say, "Oh, walk this way."
Oh, yeah.
And I instantly thought of that song, "Walk This Way," and then I read that it was based on that.
Really?
Yeah, by Aerosmith. They had based it on that, and I thought, wow, that's quite astonishing, because as soon as they said it, and without me knowing, it was the first thing that came to my mind was the Aerosmith song "Walk This Way," and then I read that the guy was inspired by that to write the song in Aerosmith. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, because he throws back his cloak and he's got a very short walking cane strapped to his leg like a gun. He pulls it out, and that's when he says that. And then he gives it to Wilder. Crazy.
I didn't know that about Aerosmith. That's cool.
There's probably lots of things like that in it we don't know.
Yeah.
Look, that's disappointing when I didn't have. Said some with us. Linda, I did like the book Frankenstein, the whole thing where he tried to escape and find some people to care for, and Frankenstein turned into the monster. Yeah, well, on a literary level, Mary Shelley was pregnant and the baby was born dead. So there's a great loss there. Added to that, she had seen several experiments on animals and electricity, where if the body was touched in certain places, it would It would jump about as though it was alive. She had all that going. And then, of course, there was that famous holiday with Shelley. Lord Byron, etc., where they had this challenge to write a story. And that's where that comes from. She never finished it there, but she went on to finish it. Interestingly, it was quite a successful book from the word go. And that would be partly due, I would imagine, to the fact that there was nothing else to do but read books or play instruments or card games. So there's a lot of interesting stuff around the creation of the material itself. And it has been quite well explored over all these years through various documentaries and what have you. You get any last words on this, son?
Just that it's a good film. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. Particularly if you are a fan of parody films and you're interested in Hollywood and, making fun of, Hollywood in a nice way. It's, as I said earlier, it's probably Mel Brooks's best overall film. Which is interesting because he doesn't actually appear in it physically. You only hear him. He's off camera. So take that for what it is. But no, it's definitely one of the best comedies ever made for me. Yeah.
Well, Toffee is agreeing and giving it a solid 9 out of 10, narrowly missing a full 10 in his opinion. Oh, but you, William, where would you put it?
I reckon I would give it 7. I think it was a good film. I would recommend it, and it would appear it's probably the movie that gave birth to horror parody, at least, which is interesting. I like a good parody, and it's good to see where it kind of all began. So that was good. Yeah, recommend it.
Excellent. I'd recommend it too. And it's a very tricky thing to recommend a comedy to anyone, because, as we've all said many times, we've all got different ideas of what's funny and what isn't. I think you would need to be a pretty dour character not to find something humorous in that film somewhere. So, how many out of 10, Samuel, would you give it?
For my first time viewing, I would have given this a 9.5. I've now seen it a lot of times. I would probably give it a 7 for exceptionally many repeated viewings. I still find it funny, and I'm still learning stuff about it that I didn't know. And I think, yeah, it's one of the best. It's up there with like some Like a Hawk for all-time classic comedies. Mel Brooks' best film as well, even better than Blazing Saddles.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And The Producers.
What about that one, To Be or Not to Be?
It's a solid film. I would say that's probably a 7.5. First time viewing, I'd probably give it an 8 or an 8.5. I haven't watched it that often, to be fair. I do need to go back to it though.
I think I would give it an 8. And I certainly would have no hesitation in recommending it to someone. Toffee says it gets a 9 from me because, as William said, it's the original comedy parody. It has to be particularly special to get a 10 though. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, as far as I know, Toffee, it is the first. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think so. And I know absolutely for a fact that the colour version of a parody of the same story coming from our old friends Hammer comes much later. And it isn't half as good. And that's just working on memory. So, yeah, it's well placed, deserves to be well placed. And I thought Spaceballs was very good as well. But for originality, etc., we need to give it a Golden Globe Award or something. So ended the discussion on Young Frankenstein without our good friend Sensom. Something's happened. It's not like him. So, have you got any exams coming up, William?
Not really until I think maybe January, late January. So pretty much me for the year. It's just kind of seeing out my daughter's birthday, then Christmas. And I mean, for me now, at this point, I'm always a bit like, and I do enjoy, I'm not fucking bah humbug, the Grinch kind of material. I do enjoy it. We have a party and what have you. But I'm always at this point kind of hoping just to roll on January the 2nd, man, and just get it. Just glad that it's all out the way, the whole Christmas, and then bringing in the Hogmanay. But I'm always glad come the start of January, just start a new year and take it on head on.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm kind of just waiting now for January and try and stay afloat and not go completely bankrupt. But we'll see. It's always great to be on. I've really enjoyed it again.
Well,
So thank you, John. Thanks, Samuel.
don't just run away just quite yet. Samuel, can you read that message from Toffee?
If I've heard of Garth Mangiani's Dark Place, it's a parody horror series. No, I have not. I shall look it up right now, though.
So you don't care for Hogmanay, William?
I do. I mean, I do like it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it when it finally comes around. But this whole building up to it, trying to manage the finance, and I know that come January the 2nd or the 1st, I can feel a bit relieved that it's out the way. It could be stressful, man. It can be, even though you can enjoy yourself. I mean, we all like to bring in the new year, the Scottish, the English, the Welsh, the Irish. I mean, you can't not like it. Let's face it. So, yeah, I do enjoy that, but I am always glad because I like to get on with the year as well, and it's just, I mean, Halloween is pretty much it ends, and then before it's even ended, they're selling Christmas stuff, and it's like fuck.
Uh,
Honestly, just give it a rest. It's straight from like the frying pan into the fire. Because
yeah.
even Halloween, my wife does a party and stuff like that, and the kids, and then sweets for the kids at the door, and I mean all that comes at a price as well. So
Of
I'm gonna
course.
sound like Scrooge now,
Yeah,
typical
oh, it
Scotsman.
is expensive. You've got to give them all something. It's not as if you can leave somebody out.
Aye, that's it.
Do you have a
So
lot of kids up there?
yeah, we're in a this particular sort of community. It's all families, so every
That's
house there's kids.
that's good. Is that you off then, Bill? You going all signing out? He's tired.
Good night, Will.
Yeah, good night. Take care. I hope you're still on the mend. Linda said that she thinks Sesame had something on.
I'm sure he'll be fine. We'll get him next time.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, I think I'll just close down the live stream unless somebody's got anything they want to bring up. Now, remember, it's Friday. We try and keep off serious stuff.
I'll just quickly add, Toffee was talking about Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor. I did see a mention of Stir Crazy. If he's not seen it, he should see it, but I'm sure he's well aware of it.
Well, that's what he said to you, yeah. He is obviously aware of it. I think I've seen that as well, a long time ago, of course.
Yeah.
Anglo, a distinct lack of diversity on this stream. I'll be reporting you to Uncle Keir.
Well, to be fair, we do usually have a Nigerian, but he's not here tonight, so
Quite. Yeah, well, it's going to be a different Christmas here tonight, this year. And my niece is expecting a baby sometime right about now until Christmas time. And they're having one of these shower parties
oh yeah,
tomorrow.
that's great news.
Yeah, it's a wee girl. Yeah, everything's going well so far. So let's hope it stays that way.
Yep, that was when my daughter, the middle child, when she was due, they said it was in December 2012, and the due date was 12/12/12. And I thought, oh
What?
no, because there was like this whole thing going about 12/12/12 being, I don't know, the Armageddon or something like that. Because even we got approached by someone who was writing an article for kids that were going to be born on 12/12/12.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no, basically, but it was my daughter ended up coming on the 10th of December. so she avoided getting the 12, 12, 12, and she decided to come out on the 10th, and that was in 2012, which it feels like a lifetime ago now.
I'll bet. Well, thanks very much, Toffee, for your well wishes. I'll pass that on to my niece and my sister. They'll be quite chuffed. Quite chuffed. So yeah, it's a wee girl. Layla. That's the name, isn't it, Samuel?
Yeah.
Layla. I said to her, I said that she should have made it Lola, and we could have attached the Kinks song to it.
Yeah.
If you know the Kinks song.
Oh yeah, no, my daughter's called Lola.
Is she?
Yeah.
Yes, Treble, it's Alice's daughter. Yeah. She's excited and a little bit apprehensive, of course, as most women are. Who can blame them?
Yeah. Do you know
Did
what?
you
I was worse than my wife. I was like, honestly, she was great at just kind of not worrying. I was more like a bag of nerves, man. Especially when it came to the labour process, man. I didn't like it. I'm glad we're finished and not having any more.
Were you in it? Were you there?
I was there 2 of the times, and I just did not like it, man. I did not like it at all. And then, of course, cutting the cord. I done that twice, and it's like
Wow.
the only way I can describe it is like cutting someone's finger off.
Well, have you done that before?
Not that I've done it, but honestly, that's the only way I can describe it. And I was just like, kind of wishing I'd never done it, but it was a good thing to do, cutting the cord. But I was I was a bag of nerves.
I'm glad they never asked me. I was there for Samuel. What an experience. Whoa. Absolutely incredible. Incredible. Yes, Treble Egg, we're hoping the baby has red hair like her mum. Her mum has beautiful, beautiful red hair, as you've seen in her photographs. The thing that took me aback the most, William, about being there at the birth, and nobody had given me any warning about it, was the heat that was in the room. I nearly get put on my back when I opened the door and got the blast of that heat.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible. And of course, that's the mother's body zooming the temperature up so that when the baby comes out, there's no real difference between the temperature the baby's just come from to the temperature the baby is going to. But my God, what an experience. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Thoroughly recommend it. If you ever get the chance, Toffee, be involved. I wouldn't go as far as what William's done, hacking bits of bodies up. Did they ask you to do that?
Yeah, they asked me if I wanted to. Yeah.
Wow. Toffee said, William, women are like aliens, aren't they? They scare me a bit. I know what you mean, Toffee.
Yeah, I did keep kind of thinking at the time, oh, I'm so glad we don't have to do this. I'm so glad it's not me fucking lying there giving birth. I just thought, nah, this is it. I mean, you describe it in a kind of beautiful fashion, but for me, it was like a nightmare. It was totally like a nightmare for me. I was so glad when it was done and out the way. I just worried. I did. I genuinely was sitting there worried shitless, but glad it was done, and the kids are here today to annoy me.
Of course, I was born in my great-grandmother's house with my granny and my two aunties in assistance. And there was problems at the birth. This is a true story, by the way. And my auntie Annie was the one who brought me back from the near death that I was in by taking me over to the open fire, pouring whiskey all over me and holding me close to the fire so the whiskey would quickly evaporate, zoom up my body temperature and started my heart. And that's how I came into the world.
Wow.
Quite incredible.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me how they knew these things, but they said, I'm glad they did. Anglo said, watching your missus give birth is like watching your favourite pub burn down. Wow. Yeah. Look at this toffee.
I'd agree with that, Anglo.
I weighed 10 pounds when I was born. My poor mother, God almighty, that is a big baby. I couldn't tell you. I'd need to go and look at my certificate, but certainly not that size. So, we've got all that excitement coming up.
Yeah. Did you see Ludwig's comment about what childbirth is like?
I think I missed it.
Said it was, said having him was like.
Oh yeah. Shitting a wardrobe. Oh dear. And that's the thing about women, of course, isn't it? They all say the same thing. Oh, that was awful. Never asked me to go through that again. Then about 3 months later, they want to be pregnant, have another one.
Yeah, quite incredible. I mean, my wife. I guess not all of them are similar, but because my wife on Free, she's like, nah, that's no more. But I know other people, I think they're on like 6 or 7 now. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, my next door neighbor, I think they're on 8.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like, Jesus, man. When do you think, right, okay, that'll do?
I know. Well, I must say this to Toffee because it's what he said. The most Scottish thing I've ever heard, pouring whiskey on a baby. Well, Toffee, I always put that down to why I cannot drink whiskey and I do not like the smell of whiskey, no matter how light that smell might be. And over my life, I have tried, but I just cannot do it. I just cannot have whiskey in my body. I always put it down to that birth experience. But it may not be that, you know.
I'd say that's a very good explanation.
Sounds okay to me.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to tell you, William, is my Uncle Huey, he was one of 21 children. And him and his whole siblings, plus his mum and dad, lived in a single room.
Jesus.
And they all survived.
Wow. So that's like a, excuse me, like in a single end.
Yeah, single end. It's exactly what it was. 21 children,
Wow.
mum and dad.
And I thought my Christmas list was bad.
Ludwig said, I have a good mate from school, tall, slim, quite the stunner in her mid 50s, 7 kids. There you go. So, yeah. I my Uncle Huey, if he was saying that to someone for the first time, he would always follow it up by saying, so where did we all sleep? Well, I think we could wrap this up, folks. Could we not? Would you like to go on a bit more?
No, I think this is a good point to wrap up.
Sorry?
I think this is a good point to wrap up.
Treble M said, John, 21 children. That's more than a handful. Well, it's a couple of big handfuls, Treble M. I can't imagine so many in one family. To be serious about it, I don't know how that poor woman survived that. No, she didn't actually. Eventually, she died during the war, but her body must have been racked. Must have been nothing of a body. Must have been just awful. That's just beyond the pale, really, when you think about it. But of course, these people of that generation, I don't think they knew very much about sexual intercourse and babies. Not that I'm excusing it, but it's an awful thing, that 21 children.
Mm.
And it's not as though there were, 2 or 3 pairs of twins or anything, you know? So anyway, I'm going to get the song going. Treble M, 4 children is more than enough. Feeding them, clothing them, everything is so expensive. Well, that's another side of it, Treble M. And we're talking about an age where there is no social security. You're talking about church charity, if anything. Just dreadful. Eventually, of course, uh, after their mother died, quite tragically, they ended up in the poorhouse. So there you go. Yeah, my Uncle Hughie had a hard life. Couldn't get any of the details out of him. He wouldn't talk about it, of course. I always thought it would be an incredibly interesting thing to write about. But that wasn't him. Anyway, I, of course, will have a quiet weekend. Glad to be free of the hospital again. So next week, I'm hoping to be here Tuesday and Friday. Okay. And hopefully I'll see you all then. What the heck's that? You do that that weekend, William?
Tomorrow I'll be down at the football, so
All right.
Elgin City. Well, I think the weather, I think it'll be all right. It got postponed last week, but the temperature's not too bad, so I reckon it'll be okay. So they're playing Kelty Hearts in the Scottish Cup tomorrow. So I'll be there most of the best part of the day, and then home, and then Sunday, I think out with the kids, and then that's pretty much it. That's mostly anytime I'm out, I'm at the football usually, either with my youngest son or if I can, myself, and then I can get a few single malts. When I'm with my kid, I tend not to.
Oh,
I mean, I
no.
can't. There is a family bar. There's a family sort of social club at the game, so you can take your kids in, and
Oh, that's good.
yeah. So, but when I'm
Family friendly.
but when I go myself and I meet friends there, I can kind of come out my shell. Because you've got to have your eyes peeled when the kids are there. Although he's not too bad now, and he can. I mean, he's 9 now, but I mean, a couple of years ago, I was always looking out for him, and now he can go about the ground and is a bit more switched on. So yeah, I'll be at the football, probably soaked, freezing, wondering why I went, but I tend to enjoy it. So yeah, that'll be my weekend. It's great to be back on. Good to see you, John and Samuel, and thanks to everyone in the chat.
There's Don Browning. Good evening. We're just finishing up here, Don, but it's good to have your company even for a short while. Well, enjoy yourself. Tell your wife I was asking after her, and all being well, I shall return on Tuesday, usual time, 9 o'clock, and back on Friday, same time, 9 o'clock. I believe I don't know any details for Toffee's channel to give him a plug. But as you all know, I'm sure, there's plenty of material on over the weekend. Oh, he's on. Toffee's on Monday, 8 o'clock, if you're interested, folks. Thank you, boss. And Sensible will be on, I think, Saturday. I think it's Saturday he's on. So, I'll take you out now. Last word, Samuel.
Thanks for everyone for coming along tonight. I do appreciate it. It's good to see everyone. Hope you enjoyed the film review. Again, if you haven't seen Young Frankenstein, definitely worth a watch. Definitely worth a watch.
Absolutely. So, as I always like to say, my friends, adios, au revoir, cheerio, and until Tuesday at 8 o'clock, bye for now. Take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever you do. Try and get a bit of fresh air if you can. Till next time, bye just now. Enjoy the music.
Silently the snow falls, paints a winter scene, swiftly spreads the dark rim, hides the fading autumn green. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, conjure friendships dear to me. Lightly now the breeze flows, disturbing more than just the leaves. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. Patiently the love grows, lifts the weary heart. Gently now she holds me, melts two worlds once apart. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, usher dreams of you and me. Softly then the breeze blows, disturbing more than just the trees.
All together now.
But love's much more
So much more
than we can know.
than we can ever possibly know.
We are one small glow
What an important glow.
in the eternal flow. Melodies of long ago, songs of innocence, harmonies to soothe the soul, past the consequence. Moonbeams rush the dark wood, awakening joys of you and me. Silently the snow falls, bringing winter symphony.
All together now.
But we're much more
So much more
than we can know.
than we can ever possibly know.
We are one small glow
What an
in
important
the
glow.
eternal flow. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow.
So take care, folks. I'll speak soon. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you, all of you, for coming.